Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. A creeping menace has risen. No longer content to stay below, it slithers through the cracks, the drains, the very walls around you. This is no man, no beast. It is a mindless, shapeless, merciless thing. If you see it, run for your life. If you hear it, it's already too late. Lock your doors, stay inside, and pray you never encounter.
Hey there, I'm Dungeon Lord Jay. And yeah, this is a video about oozes. What they are, why they're scary, and how I reworked them mechanically in D&D to be the slow, suffocating nightmares they're supposed to be. Now, if long, deep dive monster content isn't your thing, that's okay. I'm not making you watch it. I am, however, going to get slimed. Oh. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh. Oh, God. Oh. Yeah. I'm giving oozes the attention they deserve because somebody's got to. If you enjoy the video, hit like, subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments below. I could definitely see myself doing deep dives like this in the future. But for now, let's talk about oozes.
You are strong, child. But I am beyond strength. I am the end. I am your doom.
Oozes are terrifying, conceptually and thematically speaking. So how come in D&D, they don't feel that way? Oozes are one of the oldest monsters in the game, featured in every edition since Gary Gygax himself penned the OD&D white box set back in 1974. But in 5th edition, in the year of our Lord 2025, 51 years later, oozes aren't really scary or even dangerous. There's little to no variety, they're weirdly weak, and at least a little mechanically clunky. And worse yet, they're boring.
Boring! Boring! Boring!
They're written like a wet floor hazard with hit points. Well, I want to fix that. And you're coming with me. Now, before we get into the goo, we need to define our terms. So, what exactly is an ooze? Well, typically an ooze is a category of creatures that resembles amorphous, semi-liquid blob of acidic sludge. They have no bones and no organs. They're just big, wet mass of digestive mucus. They submerge their food in their body and dissolve it for sustenance. They have the ability to stretch their bodies thin and squeeze through cracks and flow under doors. If there's a space for water to get through, there's a space for an ooze. Oozes are also asexual, but not in the way that SpongeBob is asexual, but in the way that most amoebas are asexual, reproducing by splitting their body into an exact copy of itself. In Dungeons and Dragons, they're a creature type, like undead or fiends. They usually have blind sight, immunity to charmed, frightened, and exhaustion, and almost all deal acid damage. They tend to dwell in dark places like sewers, dungeons, cellars, and the Underdark. But here's the thing. Oozes aren't just D&D monsters. They're everywhere. They show up in video games, cartoons, sci-fi, fantasy, and horror movies, and even Saturday morning toy commercials.
This is a slime monster. The slime runs out of his mouth. This is the slime monster game, where you slime the other players with the monster.
Yuck.
The slime monster game comes complete with slime compound, new from Mattel.
They've been culturally absorbed into basically every genre. RPG, they're usually your first fight. Horror film, they're a slow-moving nightmare. Kid shows, there's strangely a lot of them. Sometimes they're goofy, sometimes they're gross, sometimes they're weirdly sexy. We don't have time to unpack that. No time. But at their core, oozes are built around the same idea. An alien slime, a shapeless, mindless thing, defined not by what they are, but by what they lack. So, why are oozes scary? Well, to figure that out, we need to go back to their origins. Slime monsters didn't originate in D&D. Long before they were lurking in dungeons, they were kind of a metaphor. One of the earliest examples that I could find of an ooze was from 1907 in a pulp short story called The O-Dial. It's about a scientist who gives life to a group of cells that just keeps expanding and growing. You see, back in the early 1900s, medical science was evolving at a rapid pace, faster than most people could fully comprehend. And when people don't understand something, they fear it. Microscopes, cells, amoebas. This new understanding of the building blocks of life was exciting to scientists. But to the public, it was terrifying. By the 1920s, ooze and slime monsters had taken root across all kinds of pulp magazines. But it was H.P. Lovecraft's Shoggoth from his 1931 novella At the Mountains of Madness that really left a mark for the genre. The Shoggoth was a disturbing monster with the ability to shift its form and mimic speech. Notably, it was one of the first times an ooze was presented as having a higher intelligence than humans. But it wasn't until Dungeons and Dragons came along that the ooze became what we know it as today. Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson were huge fans of pulp fantasy and science fiction. Writers like Robert E. Howard, Jack Vance, and H.P. Lovecraft were massively influential on the tone, monsters, and magic of early D&D. Creatures like the Mind Flayer and the Gibbering Mouther were torn directly from the pages of H.P. Lovecraft. It's like Matt Colville always says,
I may have mentioned this before, take the stuff you like and stick it in your game.
So no, they didn't invent the ooze, but they gave it stat blocks, names, and a place in the world. Even though the concept came from horror and sci-fi, D&D solidified what an ooze is. And to this day, if you see a slime monster in a video game, anime, comic, whatever, chances are it traces back to Dungeons and Dragons. But the horror of the ooze, I think that comes from before the ooze itself. Oozes or slimes or jellies or blobs represent a unique kind of fear. Not the fear of fangs or claws, but something deeper, primal. Fear our ancient ancestors developed for safety and survival, and it still lingers with us to this day. Oozes have no faces, no brains, and no clear form. And they have no motives. They don't want anything. They just are. You don't run from an ooze. You try to stay ahead of it. Through cracks, under doors, down walls. Nothing is going to stop them. And when it catches you, you don't die screaming. You die gasping as the slime fills your lungs and melts your flesh. They're not villains. Their entropy manifest. A hunger that you can't negotiate with. A mirror of humanity's deepest fear. That we've meddled with life. Poked too deep into the unknown. And we've awakened something that doesn't care about us at all. And that's what makes them so terrifying. They're bacteria. They're slime mold, algae, jellyfish. Oozes aren't just fantasy or science fiction monsters. They're the parts of real world nature that we don't like to think about. They're inevitability. They're a force. They are the end. With a stat block. We've got this creature that is iconic, genuinely terrifying, and sick as hell thematically, and then you open up the 5e stat block. This isn't a nightmare. It's a Roomba with hit points. For a creature that's supposed to represent the inescapable death by consumption, oozes in 5e are shockingly undercooked. Like, they're missing the traits that we culturally agree make an ooze. They're easy to kill. They don't smother or consume anything. They hit like a soggy pool noodle. And half of their abilities are more of a burden on the DM than a threat to the players. Like, take a look at this. This is scary. Scary amounts of paperwork for everyone at the table. Let's get specific, but not too specific. I'm not trying to make this entire video just me shaking the monster manual like an angry substitute teacher. Generally speaking, there are 4 types of oozes in 5e, and they scale in CR. The gray ooze, the ochre jelly, the black pudding, and the gelatinous cube. I'm purposefully leaving out the oblex and the blob of annihilation because they are outliers in a very small list of oozes and thus don't really count for what I'm trying to do here. So each of these 4 types of oozes have a gimmick. The gray ooze is the bottom of the barrel. Literally and metaphorically. The gray ooze's main feature is its corrosive form and the secondary effects on its pseudopod attack. Basically, it melts your armor and weapons, giving you penalties to hit. The ochre jelly is next, and its thing is the split feature, where it somehow severs directly in half when it takes slashing or lightning damage. And the black pudding the highest CR of all the base oozes. It does both. It does both. And that's it. The art literally depicts an ogre drowning in black sludge, and all it does mechanically is split and give armor a -1 penalty.
Disappointed!
And then there's the Gelatinous Cube. I kind of like 2025 5.5e version of you. Not too shabby. We'll come back to you. You just need a little touch up, but that's a good ooze.
But the rest of you!
They're all just variations of the same mildly annoying ooze with rearranged features. There's no variety, no real escalation. It's like WotC came up with 2 interesting ideas and just reskinned them. It's like one of those mobile game ads where you're the little soldier guy and you can get the +1 or the +2, and all of these ads are exactly identical, but not exactly. And none of the actual games look anything like it at all. And it's not just the flavor. Mechanically, they've got low HP for their CR. Their attacks do 3/4 the amount of damage it should for its CR. Wizards of the Coast, I need you to explain something to me, just real quick. Why are they not immune to acid? What kind of monster is weak to itself? Tell me, wizards. I need answers. And then there's that corrosive form mechanic. You touch it, your sword melts. It hits you, your armor melts. I mean, I get it. It makes sense with the lore. It's flavorful, it's cool, it's thematic. But I guarantee that is one of the main reasons DMs avoid running these guys. Because it can be a momentum killer. I run a pretty fast-paced, cinematic, story-based campaign. The last thing I want to do is hit the brakes so that the party can go back to town and buy a new chain shirt. That could be fun in a survival-based campaign or a gritty dungeon crawl. Campaigns where resource loss is part of the tension. I feel like this mechanic is a vestige of older editions of D&D. Back when the biggest challenge of the campaign was whether or not the players had enough torches to get back out of the dungeon. Or figuring out how they were going to get the treasure back to town. Back when moving through a dungeon was taken in 10-minute turns and the party wouldn't go anywhere without their 10-foot pole. Back when the dungeon was the game.
I think the reason this list of gear is in here is because it's always been in D&D. This list, almost exactly the same list, has been in every edition of the game with maybe one exception since at least 1979.
But in most modern story-based campaigns, it's just tedious. So yeah, I'll admit it. I end up not using oozes. Not because I don't love them, but because I don't want to throw a wrench in the story's pacing just to melt a player character's longsword. But it doesn't have to be this way. These oozes aren't broken beyond repair. They're just unfinished. The horror is right there. The flavor is so close. 5e oozes just need a little help crossing that line from kind of cool concept to full-blown nightmare that's fun as hell to run. So let's do this.
Let's do this.
Let's make a baby.
What? What are you talking about?
I don't know. I was trying to sound close. Sorry. No.
First, let's talk about the universal changes I made to oozes across the board. I'm not trying to reinvent the slime here. These are just things that I did to give oozes a little bit more identity and consistency.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Like how all goblins have nimble escape and devils are immune to fire and dragons get their signature breath weapon. So here's what I changed. First, I raised the constitution score of every ooze to at least 18 or more, and I gave them proficiency in con saves. Oozes are supposed to be resilient. They should feel like an unchangeable, unrelenting force. And hey, more con means more HP, so our Jello boys can take a beating before collapsing into goo. Second, I added the spider climb to the speed section of the stat block. I don't know why it's not already there. That should be how it's handled, like hover and fly. Most of the oozes already had this ability. I just laid out the stat block differently. Third, I added a new trait to every ooze called corrosive remains. This idea was actually suggested to me by my friend Brendan. He plays August Elderfire in my actual play campaign, The Descent. Go check it out. Like and subscribe. Corrosive remains is pretty simple. When an ooze dies, the space it was in is now a hazard on the field, dealing acid damage if you enter the square or start your turn there. It adds some tactical threat, some area denial, and most importantly, it makes death messier, which, with oozes, is exactly what you want. And lastly, I cleaned up their resistances and immunities. Now, finally, they are all immune to acid damage. What idiot made them resistant? So those are the baseline changes that you can expect to see in these stat blocks. But now I want to go ooze by ooze and talk about what I changed and why.
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about.
Let's start with the gray ooze. Probably the saddest of the bunch.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine. But
Low CR, barely a threat, and somehow manages to be lame and annoying at the same time. So I gave it a stat tune-up. I adjusted its speed, I bumped the HP, and I changed around the resistances and immunities. Lore-wise, gray oozes are meant to look like puddles or wet rock when motionless to ambush their prey. But in the 2025 Monster Manual, they just straight up removed the false appearance trait instead of fixing it. So I added it back with the clearer explanation on how it functions. But now, for the main course. As much shit as I talked about the corrosive form trait, I decided to keep it.
Bruh.
It's a core aspect of the creature and has been for decades, but I gave it some formatting cleanup. Also, now it is exclusive to the gray ooze, making it a unique mechanic rather than one of 3 oozes who do the same thing. But the big new addition, the constrict attack. Now it can wrap itself around the target, grapple them, and get advantage on attack rolls while doing it. It's not just flopping around at your feet. It's actively clinging to your armor and melting it off. This stat block feels more like the silent threat under the dungeon floor that it's supposed to. All right, now let's talk about the ochre jelly, the yellow goo that's great at long division. Like the gray ooze, I mess with its stats, HP, and speed a little bit. But the ochre jelly's claim to fame is its split ability. And I never really liked it. I always wondered what the split ability actually represented. You hit it with a one-handed battle axe, and suddenly the ooze splits directly down the middle, creating 2 identical jellies with the same amount of hit points? That doesn't make a lick of sense to me. So I got rid of it, and I gave it a new trait called Sloth Spawn, based on this image. This image is what cleared everything up for me. You see, the ochre jelly doesn't split evenly. No, a portion of it is severed and becomes its own independent jelly. So, here's how it works. Whenever the jelly has 10 or more hit points and it takes lightning or slashing damage, it still takes the damage. It's not immune or resistant. However, that chunk of the jelly sloughs off and spawns an entirely new creature. A creature I like to call, get this, an ochre jelly spawn. And the damage done by the slashing or lightning of the original ochre jelly is now the hit points of the spawn. So instead of being immune to the damage, it just transfers to a new creature. The spawn stat block, super simple and low CR to run. Easy, very easy. But in theory, if the party keeps slashing away without a plan, they can quickly find themselves surrounded by a swarm of small jellies. Suddenly, they're staring down the barrel of a trouble with tribbles situation. In most stat blocks for creatures with extreme bodies, like the Azure covered in fire, a Remor has with a superheated insides, or a Grung with toxic skin, they have features that punish you for touching them, hitting them with an attack, or even getting too close. I noticed when looking over the ochre jelly that for a creature literally made of acid goop, they have no real side effects of touching them. The gray ooze kind of simulates this with its corrosive form, but that's a gray ooze exclusive now. So I gave the ochre jelly its own special trait, caustic splatter. Now, when you touch the jelly or hit it with an attack, chunks of acid jello fly off and splash back onto you, dealing damage. I also gave the ochre jelly a new action, smother, a nastier upgrade of the gray ooze's constrict. It essentially grabs and smothers the target, blinding them, suffocating them, and burning them with acid every turn. It's gross, it's effective, and it feels like the classic ideal of an ooze consuming you. It's what they've been missing this entire time. Now for the black pudding, the biggest, baddest ooze in the core lineup. It's got the biggest glow up of them all. I boosted its stats, its hit points, and bumped its CR from 4 to 5. I needed it to actually feel like the apex ooze, the final boss of the core sludge family. In preparation for this video, I sat down and I watched a bunch of classic ooze horror movies. The Blob, The Stuff, Bacterium, Catalicky the Immortal Monster. And the one thing that they all had in common was the ooze was unstoppable. Every attempt to kill it, fire, bullets, freezing, electrocution, either failed or made it stronger. It was immune to conventional damage. It always required something weird, something specific or earned to defeat it. I wanted the black pudding to feel like that. Like a monster that's not just a sack of hit points, but a problem your players have to figure out or get consumed trying. So, simple fix, I added lightning absorption and aversion to fire. Small, simple to implement traits that make the ooze feel unique. Now, for the signature move, let me introduce you to the engulf attack. Each ooze that I've upgraded so far has a variation of consuming its target, but the black pudding takes it to the extreme. Its engulf pulls the target inside of its body and applies the blinded, restrained, and incapacitated conditions. And it begins suffocating and melting them. No movement, no actions, no escape, unless someone pulls you out or you make the save at the end of your turn. Oh, and it can do this to up to 3 creatures at once. This image, that was the goal. I wanted the black pudding to feel not just dangerous, but inescapable. To reinforce that further, I gave the pseudopod attack a 10-foot reach, and when it hits, it automatically pulls the target to within 5 feet, putting them in reach for an engulf attack. It's a 2-hit wombo combo. Strike, pull, consume. And since the pudding is so big and slow, I wanted to give it a ranged option as well. I was inspired by one of my favorite films of all time, Jurassic Park. You know the scene, the one where Dennis Nedry meets the Dilophosaurus and it blinds him with that black, sticky mucus. It's the perfect move for a sludge monster. So now the pudding can launch a lob of toxic ooze at a target, temporarily blinding them for a turn. With these changes, the black pudding now feels more like how an ooze should. It consumes its prey, and it gives the party a reason to act beside, I swing my sword or I cast my spell. They have to weigh their options. Do you get in close and risk being engulfed? Do you stick your arm in to save your friend? It creates a puzzle. And all the party has to do is solve it. Oh yeah, and quick sidebar before we move on. I didn't forget about you, Gelatinous Cube. Honestly, I think I love you.
Leave me alone!
Platonically speaking, that is. The Gelatinous Cube is iconic because it already works. It already has a 20 con, immunity to acid, and already engulfs people inside an invisible wall of jelly. It's already scary. I did, however, add the corrosive remains trait, but honestly, you get it. Just don't get any ideas. No. Please, no! So yeah. Those are my core ooze redesigns. Not a total overhaul, not some gritty reboot. Just tight, flavorful updates to make the oozes feel like horrifying, inescapable slime monster that they were always meant to be. And most importantly, they're fun to run and just scary enough to make your party just as paranoid about a puddle as they are about mimics.
I don't need it. I don't need it. I definitely don't need it. I 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 need it!
I had to do it. After digging through almost the entire ooze lineup, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. I mean, we're talking about an entire creature type here. And yet, in official D&D, there's no real variety besides our 4 core oozes and a couple of outliers. That's it. So, I made my own. 2 brand new monsters that I designed to fill some niches that I noticed. The Grease Blob and the Body Snatcher Slime. The new D&D 2024 tried to take away our Grease Spell Firebolt combo by saying that the Grease spell is no longer flammable. Well, to that I say, So I designed the Grease Blob Ooze with that in mind. A slippery ooze made of flammable grease that can turn any encounter into a fiery, flailing grease slick slip and slide from hell. The Body Snatcher Slime is a CR7 ooze that doesn't just dissolve you, it becomes you. It slithers into you through your nose or your mouth and possesses your body. It's not intelligent, but it can mimic speech and movement. The only way to eject it is by force. Or, more specifically, thunder damage. You see, like symbiotes from the Marvel Universe, these slimes are vulnerable to high-frequency sounds. They're creepy, invasive, and perfect for sowing distrust when your party gets a little too comfortable. If you want to learn more about them, or get your hands on these or any of the stat blocks featured in this video, you can get them all for free by joining our community Discord server, or the 100% free Patreon. The links for those will be in the description. If you've made it this far into the video, I just want to say thank you. It was a lot of work, but I hope there's something in here that you enjoy. I want to take a moment to talk about myself and why we're here in the first place. I'm a professional dungeon master, and alongside other DM advice videos like this one, I also run a long-form actual play D&D campaign called The Descent. It's loosely based on the events of Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. We live stream every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern right here on the channel. Come swing by, check it out. So this slime-covered blob of a video is actually part of something bigger. Ooze Week 2025. Ooze Week is a D&D and TTRPG YouTube-wide event that I personally organized. It's similar in spirit to Dragon Week. We've gotten over 20 creators together to celebrate oozes. There'll be a link in the description to the official Ooze Week 2025 playlist, where you'll find every Ooze Week video from all the participating creators congealed into one place. Go and give those videos some love. Everyone involved really brought their A game for this event. I've never organized something this big before, but seeing so many creators come together, support each other, and make weird, brilliant content together has been an amazing experience for me. So to everyone in the Blob Mob who helped make this possible, thank you. And to everyone watching, your support is what makes big community projects like this worth it. If you want to help out, like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel grow significantly, and it helps us reach the audience who may truly love our work. Also, please consider joining our community Discord server, the Cosmic Tap. We have lots of active members, D&D question of the day, and a Mind Flayer bartender named Lou. You can find all of the Statblocks featured in this video on the Discord. We also have a 100% free Patreon that you are more than welcome to come check out. Anyways, this video's gone on long enough. Thank you so much for watching. Stay sharp. Farewell, adventurers.
Oh no. Oh no, it's black. Oh no. Oh, what have I done? I am about to get so fucking slime. I do not want to do this. Oh, it's gonna be so nasty. This shit is just fucking black. Not looking forward to this. Alright, this is gonna be disgusting. Okay, here we go. Oh. Oh god. I should have worn my shoes. Okay, what's my line? That was awesome.
True treasure trove. I am the glob glow gab galab, the schwabble double wabble gabble flibber blabber blab. I'm full of schwibble glibber kind. I am the yeast of thoughts and minds. Schwabble double glibber glabber schwibble schwab glab. Hibble double shwibble shabble glibber glab schwab.